Good morning, everybody. We thank you for joining us today to learn about the new DynaMARC indexed annuity from Equitrust. We're thrilled to have Jason Goodrich from the home office here to present and go over the details of this exciting new product. I want to remind everybody, as we normally do, please use the question dialog box if you have any questions that come up during the presentation. I'd also remind you, be patient. A lot of times we find that question you're going to ask probably will be covered in the next couple of minutes of the presentation. Irregardless, feel free to use that dialog box and just fire your questions in here. We'll pass those on to Jason as we're going through the presentation today. We're going to respect everybody's time. Our goal would be to be done in about 30-35 minutes. Please feel free to contact your Great Plains annuity marketing consultant after the webinar. Get any additional questions or details or marketing materials passed to you, and obviously we'd love to see a contract. We know the product has taken off here. It's been out on the market now about 2 weeks, and Jason has told me that they're really excited to see the kind of sales that have popped here just in that time frame. So without any further ado, Jason Goodrich, take it away.
Appreciate it, Rob. Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're located. And thank you once again for taking some time out of your busy schedules to join me today to talk about, as Rob said, a brand new product from Equitrust Life Insurance Company. The DynaMARC Index Annuity was just released about 2.5 weeks ago, and the early feedback on the product, as Rob mentioned, has been extremely strong. Believe it or not, this was our first new product release in about 6 years, so it's been a while, but we are very excited about the great feedback and the significant amount of business that's already flowing in on the DynaMARC product. As we go through the presentation today, I'm going to touch on some of the reasons why I believe the product has already been so successful. We're going to touch on the base product and go into some detail on the new, very competitive income rider that's available on this product. And we're also going to spend quite a bit of time talking about what I believe is probably the best feature on the product, which is the exclusive indice that is available only on the DynaMARC Index Annuity. The indice we'll be talking about is called the Dynamo Strategy and was designed and developed exclusively for Equitrust Life by Goldman Sachs. However, I will try to keep things at a pretty high level as we go through this, as to not take too much time away from your busy schedules. I'll try to keep my remarks to about 20-25 minutes or so. And as Rob said, you can, in your question box, you can ask questions and be happy to address those at the end of the presentation. Lastly, before I get started, I just want to take a minute and thank Rob, Rich, all the great folks at Great Plains Life and Annuity for their longtime support of Equitrust Life. They were actually one of the first 4 or 5 IMOs to get appointed with Equitrust about 12 years ago. And ever since then, they've been a top marketing organization with Equitrust. They're a tremendous group to work with, and we really do appreciate the relationship. So just wanted to offer a quick thanks to them. With that, let's get started. Okay, first off, this product, the DynaMARC Index Annuity, is part of a new series of products for Equitrust Life Insurance Company. All of our current products, prior to the release of this, would fall into the simple series for Equitrust, and there are no changes to those products, so they're just as they were before this release. The DynaMARC Index Annuity is the first product in the strategic series of products for Equitrust Life. So you will see more products coming out that will fall into this strategic series. You'll see us be much more aggressive from a product development standpoint. In fact, we've already met to start talking about a product for next year. So I think you should see kind of consistent product rollouts from Equitrust going forward. As I mentioned, the DynaMARC Index Annuity features the Dynamo Strategy, which was designed and developed exclusively for Equitrust from Goldman Sachs. What I'd like to do too is, kind of before we get into it, is kind of define how we look at volatility control. What do we expect from a volatility control indice? Really, the main goal when Goldman Sachs developed this was to achieve a greater stability of returns for your client. Okay, so instead of having returns that are all over the place, maybe a really high return and then a bunch of zero returns, the goal is really to look for more consistent returns. We like to use a baseball analogy. So the client may see less home runs with a type of indice like this, but they should also see less strikeouts. So they're going to see a lot more singles and doubles, so a lot more of the mid returns instead of the fluctuations all over the place. And really, we think that's what the value is in an indice like this. Okay, before I get in and talk about the Dynamo Strategy indice, let's just talk about kind of the base product. and the income rider. First off, some of the basic features with it. It is a 10-year product, so it's a 10-10 product. So 10-year surrender schedule, and the surrender charge starts at 10%. It is flexible premium. The initial premium to open up a DynaMARC annuity would be $10,000, qualified or non-qualified. Issues all the way up to age 80. We do, of course, have the 10% free withdrawal after the first year, and we have a nursing home waiver. With our nursing home waiver, after 90 consecutive days in a nursing care facility, they can take the full account value out without a penalty. Street level commission on this product is 7%. For those of you that maybe aren't familiar with Equitrust, we do not reduce commission on our index annuities. So the full 7% commission is paid all the way through the maximum issue age of 80. The other thing we don't do that you may see with some other carriers is we don't have any variations on our commission on this product. So in every state the product's approved, which I believe is 46 states, it pays the full 7% street level commission, so there are no state variations there. And last but not least, this does have an optional income rider that I'll talk about in a second. So the base product is very basic. There is no bonus or anything like that on the base product. However, there is an optional income rider available on this product to be added. It's different than the income rider we have in our simple series of products. So if you're familiar with all of our market series products, there's a guaranteed income rider on those products. And then on this product, there's this new income rider just for this product. It is optional, so they don't have to add it. So it's up to them whether or not they want to add it. The way the income rider works is, first off, there's a 10% bonus on any first-year premium on the income value. So although the product doesn't have a bonus, the income rider does. So if they put $100,000 in, their beginning account value would be $100,000, but their beginning income value would be $110,000. And that applies to any of the first-year premium. What we'll do with that is the roll-up on this income rider will be guaranteed at 4%. Okay, so no matter what the market does, they're guaranteed it'll go up at least 4%, but then it'll go up 4% plus whatever percentage is credited to the account value. Okay, so if the index does 0%, we would credit 4% to their income value roll-up. If the index does 5%, we would credit 9% to their income value roll-up. Okay, 4 plus 5 would be 9%. So worst case scenario, they get 4% in a year. Best case would be 4 plus whatever the index does. Now that does roll up for 10 years, and that is annually compounded. So it's not a simple interest. It is an annually compounded interest. I should also mention, expand a little bit on it being the percentage increase. There are other riders out there where it would be 4% plus a dollar amount increase in the account value. That's not how this one works. It's 4% plus the percentage increase in the account value, which actually would work out better than a dollar amount increase. The minimum age on the income rider is 50. The annual rider fee is 95 basis points, and once again, it's based on the accumulation value. Many of the other ones out there are based on the income value, which results in an increased charge to the client. Ours is actually based on the accumulation value, which obviously is going to be a lower amount than the income value. And we allow you to start the income withdrawals after the first year with this. Our other rider, you have to wait 2 years. This one, after the first year, they can turn on the income. Here you see just kind of what the factors are for the payout factors. The single life payout factors up top are the same as they are on our current income rider. One difference is that we increase the percentage by 10 basis points for each age. So for instance, you can see for a 50-year-old, the payout would be 3.25, but at 51, it would be 3.35. At 52, it would be 3.45. So for every year they wait, they're going to get an increase in that payout factor. Okay, that's kind of the base product and the income rider. Once again, pretty simple and very competitive, obviously. But what I want to spend most of the rest of the time talking about is the new indice, the Dynamo Strategy Indice from Goldman Sachs. Really, when Goldman Sachs designed and developed this, they followed two basic principles to try to maximize the return and get a consistency of returns. And you see them listed on the screen there: modern portfolio theory and momentum-based investing. Basically, all that means when we talk about modern portfolio theory is that their goal was to diversify as much as possible. If you're able to diversify through a lot of asset classes, it's really going to improve the potential for returns in a lot of different economic environments. Because of that, when they designed this, they designed it with 5 different asset classes and 8 different components. So if you look at a lot of these volatility control indices out there now, you'll see a lot of them only maybe have equities and bonds. So the money's either got to be in equities, bonds, or cash. This one has 5 different things, so a lot more diversity options on this, so that maybe if equities aren't performing well, maybe real estate's performing well, the money can be in there. Just gives you a lot better potential for returns, we believe. Also, we have U.S. assets and we have international assets, and I'll talk about that in a second. The other principle that they followed was what's called momentum-based investing. Really the goal with this is to find where the momentum is in the markets and then rebalance there each month. Okay, so each month they'll move money out of the underperforming assets and rebalance it to the assets that have been performing above average, really to take advantage of the momentum in the market. And I'll talk about that here in just a second too. Okay, I mentioned the 5 asset classes and the 8 components. On the screen there you see them listed. We have equities, we have bonds, we have commodities, we have real estate, and we have cash. One thing I'll mention is we do not require you to have any money in the fixed account, so you could put it all into this strategy if you like. Then for each component, we have U.S. and international in each of those, as you see. So we have U.S. equity, international equity, U.S. bond, European bond. So maybe if the U.S. Components are not performing well, maybe the international are, and we can rebalance to those ones. Okay. There's also a maximum weighting for each asset. So there's a maximum amount we could put in equities and a maximum amount we could put in bonds. What this does is it keeps the index a lot more diversified, which once again is going to give you the best chance for consistent returns. Okay, I talked a little bit about the rebalancing a second ago when I talked about momentum-based investing, which is one of the core principles that this index is designed around. And basically what that does is it tries to take advantage of the momentum in the markets. So what we do every month, at the first of every month, what Goldman Sachs does through a rules-based approach is they're going to look at every possible combination of those assets we just talked about. Okay, so they're going to look at the equities, bonds, commodities, every thousands of different potential portfolios are mixed between all of those different assets. That's all going to be calculated, and they're going to look at which one would have had the best return over the previous 6 months. Okay, which of those thousands of portfolios have the best return over the previous 6 months, and whichever one's the highest return within the 5% volatility limits, that's how we rebalance every month. Okay, so that's just done once a month, every month, and it's all rules-based and very transparent. So I'll talk about a website in a second you can go to where you can go see how it's rebalanced every month. Okay, so what they're doing there is they're really just kind of taking advantage of the momentum in the markets. This chart here, it's busy, has a lot of information on it, but I want to show you because he does a good job kind of showing the momentum-based investing and also how it's rebalanced every month. You can see this goes back 10 years and just kind of shows all the different rebalancing. One thing I like to point out on this is if you kind of look in the 2009 area, you'll notice the light blue is no longer shows there. The light blue represents real estate. We all know real estate wasn't very good there in 2008, 2009. So what this indice did is it moved the money out of real estate. It wasn't performing well, so it took the money out of that from the indice. You'll notice, in 2010 there, well, kind of the whole time that there's a lot of money in bonds. Well, the fact is over the last 10 years, bonds have performed very well. You'll see areas where there's very little in equities in 2010, for instance, because equities weren't performing well. Right now, equities, as we know recently, there's been a lot of volatility there, so we've moved the money out of equities once again. So it really does find out what's performing well, rebalances there every month. As I mentioned a second ago, there is a website that you can go to, you can take your clients to, that anybody can go to that gives tons of information about the Dynamo strategy and the Dynamo indice that's exclusive to Equitrust. The website is just www.solactive.com. You can see it on the screen there, but it's solactive.com, solactive.com. And if you go there and you just type in Goldman Sachs Dynamo strategy or our ticker symbol, you'll be able to pull up tons of information, including this chart, but a lot of other things about the indice. There's also where you'll be able to see where it rebalances every month. So it'll show every month out there what percentage is in money market, what's in bonds, what's in equity. So you can, it's very transparent. Like I said, you can see that anytime you want. So it's a really good website to go to for someone that wants to learn more about the indice. Okay, and as we mentioned, this is a volatility control indice. Really, by having the volatility control, that really helps with the consistency of returns that we talked about earlier. With the Dynamo strategy, it is a 5% volatility target. So when I talked about the momentum-based investing, I talked about finding the best performing portfolio that maintains that 5% or less volatility. Okay. Now there is a volatility cap. So during the month, because we rebalance at the beginning of the month, and we don't rebalance again until the first of the next month, during that time frame in between, if the volatility would ever exceed 5.5%, we would automatically go in daily and move money to cash to get it below 5.5%. Then if it moves below 5 again, we'd move more back into how it was originally allocated. So it does do that on a daily basis, which is very similar to how other ones out there work. Once again, we're looking at less home runs, but less strikes. With the DynaMARC product, very competitive. We have S&P strategies in addition to Dynamo strategies, and we have a fixed account. The fixed account on it's very competitive at 2.5%. Remember, the income rider was 4% plus gains, percentage of gains. So if they use the fixed account, it would roll up at 6.5% annually compounded, because 4 plus 2.5 is 6.5%. That's what the income side would roll up at. Next there you see we have two Dynamo strategies. And you'll notice they're participation accounts. So we chose to have the moving part on these strategies be a participation account. So there is no cap, and that's guaranteed. There is no spread, and that's guaranteed. And the reason we chose a par account is, with these more mid-level returns, we really feel like a par account is going to work best for the client as far as returns compared to like a spread. Just a quick example, if you had a 6% return and you had a 3% spread, well, the client's only going to get 3%. If you have a 6% return and a 75% participation rate, well, the client will get credited 4.5%. So obviously that's a lot better in that mid-return type scenario. And within those two participation accounts, we have two different strategies. We have a 1-year point-to-point and a 2-year point-to-point. The 1-year point-to-point is 75% participation. The 2-year point-to-point is 100% participation. Okay, now those are the moving part once again. So the participation rate is not guaranteed not to change. So it could change when it resets. One thing I will say though is part of our agreement with Goldman Sachs when we developed this indice was that we have fixed option costs. What that means is once we issue this policy, the cost of that option on renewal will not be any different than it was when we issued it. Because of that, because of volatility control, you really shouldn't see much change in participation rates after the policy is issued. We can't guarantee that, but the way it's built and designed is for those not to change very much regarding that. Plus, we also have very strong renewal rate history as a company, and we have for 12 years. Over on the right there, you see what the current illustrated rate is. That's an annualized illustrated rate based off the last 10 years' performance that this indice would have done. And I'll show you that in a second. But you can see if they use the point-to-point strategy, when you illustrate it, the annualized return it's going to show on the illustration is 3.67. It won't show 3.67 every year. Some years it'll show 7, some it'll show 2, 0, what have you. But if you annualize it out over 10 years, it's going to work to an annual return of 3.67. The 2-year, we only credit every 2 years on, but the annualized return on that on the illustration will work out to 4.81, so very strong. And remember, once again, if you use the income rider, you're adding 4% to that. So the income rider roll-up annualized would be 7.67 on the 1 year and 8.81 on the 2 year. So obviously very competitive, although not guaranteed. So in addition to the Dynamo strategies, we also have two S&P strategies with very competitive caps. We have the 1-year point-to-point with a current cap of 4.5%. And a 1-year monthly cap with a current monthly cap of 2%. So very strong caps on the S&P strategies too. And as I mentioned earlier, you can mix it up between these strategies however you want. We don't require you to put so much in any of them. I mean, you could use 100% in one strategy, or you can mix it between all 5. That's really up to you and your client. Okay, what this chart just kind of shows is it shows how the Dynamo strategy would have performed since 2004, and then the light green line is showing the 2-year account, how it would have been credited. Because it's 100% participation, you can see the client would have just got credited whatever the performance was. So we're just kind of showing how the participation rates work in that. These are the returns you're going to see when you run an illustration with these strategies. If you look over on the right-hand side, that's using the participation account, so that's what's going to show on the illustration credited part. So for the 1-year account with a 75% participation, when you run an illustration, it'll show 11.36% return in the first year to the account value, 3.52 in the second year, 2.85 in the third year, and so on. You can see there's only 2 0% years there. And as I mentioned, you know, that if you add that up and figure out what the annualized return is, it works out to 3.67. Now on the 2-year, remember we're only crediting every 2 years, so if they're 100% in the 2-year, at the end of the first year we wouldn't credit anything. But at the end of the second year, based off the hypothetical backtesting, we would have credited 20.56% to the account value. And 2 years later we've been 8%, then 11.01. You'll notice on the 2-year, during that 10-year time frame, there's no 0 return years. Keep in mind, once again, this is the account value, what we're crediting on the account value on the non-guaranteed side of the illustration. The income value, you need to add 4% to all those. So for the income value, it would be, on the 1-year, it would be 15.36, then 7.52, 6.85, so on. The 2-year would be 4% in the first year. The second year would be 24.56, then 4%, then 12%, then 4%, then 15%, and so on. So I'll show you just a quick page of the illustration, just to give you an idea of what it looks like on the illustration. This is just the income. I'm going to show you 2 slides here, and they're the income rider page of the illustration. This is the guaranteed rider values. Remember, the roll-up is 4%, so on a guaranteed basis, it rolls up just at 4%. So when you look at the guaranteed side, this assumes that there's no index returns at all for 10 years. Okay. What we did is we ran a 55-year-old turning on income at 65. You can see the guaranteed income amount would be 77.34. Okay, so that just uses 4%. The next one's a non-guaranteed. This is going to use those roll-ups we talked about earlier. Okay, but it's going to add the percentages we talked about earlier, but adding 4% to it. And actually, in this illustration, we did 50% in the 1-year, 50% in the 2-year. So you can see in the first year on this, if you look over at like the 4th column from the right, you can see it would have rolled up to 7.4. Then the next year, 6.24. Then 5.31. Then 9.39. So a very strong roll up there. And you can see the income withdrawal payout numbers are actually 11,553. Just to put it in perspective a little bit, our top guaranteed income rider payouts the Market 12 product, which is a very competitive for a guaranteed roll up income rider. In this same scenario, it would pay out $9,500. So basically what's happening is by using something like this, the client's giving up about $2,000 worth of guarantee to try to achieve an additional couple $1,000s on the non-guaranteed side. So it really depends what's more important, the really strong guarantee or a good guarantee with some potential for more. So some clients are going to prefer something like this, and obviously some are going to prefer just to have the guaranteed 6% roll up. Okay, just kind of closing down here a little bit. Really, there's a couple of advantages, I think, to this index over other indices out there. Number one, we talked a lot about this, but really is the diversification. That it is a multi-asset, gives us a lot of flexibility to really try to maximize the returns for the client. The second I talked about was the participation account. The fact that we use a participation account instead of a spread or a cap. And not only that, but the participation account is 100% on the 2-year strategy. So whatever it performs is what they would get. And I also talked a little bit about the fixed option costs. The fact that we have an agreement with Goldman Sachs that those options are locked in. So we don't have to worry about option costs dramatically increasing once that policy is issued, which in turn leads to very strong renewal rates for your client. And thirdly, we feel like the income rider is very attractive and really attractive to those folks that are looking for a little more potential on their income rider. You get the 10% bonus on the income value, but you also get the 4% plus the index percentage credits. And as always, like our other products, our rider fee is based off the accumulation value, which is going to save your client on the fee side of this. Okay, for any material, it's all on our website. It's all out there. If you're already appointed with Equitrust on the annuity side, there's no additional appointments or anything like that you have to do to get going with us on this. However, there is product training requirement. So if you've not done the Dynamo product training with us, or DynaMARC product training, and you're interested, I encourage you to get out there and get the training done. We have a training out there that's just for the DynaMARC product. So get out there and do the DynaMARC training, and then, assuming you're appointed, you should be good to go with us. And if you're not appointed, I'd say contact your sales manager or marketer at Great Plains and get that process started and get it going. There you see our information. Obviously, you're going to want to contact your person at Great Plains if you have any questions about anything or you need help with illustrations and things like that, but obviously feel free to call us as well. With that, that is all I have. Rob, do you have any questions or do you have anything you want to add?
No, you did a good enough job. We came through pretty clean on this one, and I know that a lot of our annuity sales consultants have been speaking with agents. As you mentioned in opening, Jason, Equitrust is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest relationship we have here at Great Plains, going back to when Rich founded the agency. And as you pointed out, we were one of the first on board and have been from day one. We're seeing some great cases come through here. The product launch is off to a great start. I'd encourage everybody today, please follow up. Our number is 1-800-710-1115. And check in with your recruiter, your annuity wholesaler here at Great Plains. They can answer any questions you have and get you more materials. Stay tuned too. We're going to have Jason back in October to visit with us about the single premium life opportunity. Equitrust has a fantastic opportunity there with a series of single premium life products for the senior market that can really benefit your clients, help them with their wealth transfer needs. So your annuity specialist here at Great Plains can also visit with you about that if you've got any interest or any clients that would fit that profile. I want to thank everybody for their time today. And Jason, again, thank you for joining us and walking us through the new DynaMARC index. And we'll be eager to see how we finish up the year with this.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. Appreciate everything you guys are doing. Appreciate